Hey guys, my name is Christian Riley. I just wanted to post up my first video and basically say thank you for anyone who is going to watch on my videos, subscribe, anything like that. Basically, I'm starting this channel because I kind of want to do more with disc golf stuff. So that's primarily what I'm going to be using this channel for. I'll probably add in some tournament footage shot by my beautiful girlfriend whenever I drag her along to tournaments with me. So I'll probably post up some tournament footage, some practice round footage, some putting, some driving, some upshot, practice videos, stuff like that. Just that way you guys can see what kind of goes on in the life of an amateur disc golfer. I'm not pro by any means. I don't claim to be pro by any means. I know there are a lot of people a lot better than I am at this sport. But a little bit about kind of me. I'm an amateur disc golfer. My PDGA number is 102,000 something. I discovered disc golf actually a while back. I discovered it back in 2014, ballpark around. It was a way for me to get out with my buddies in college. A few of my fraternity brothers played, and my buddy Robert, he actually, Rob got me into the sport. He was constantly dragging me and a whole lot of other of our chapter brothers around to a couple of different local parks and everything around where we went to school at, and it was pretty awesome. It was the first time since high school that I could really just get into a sport, but know that I didn't have to do it well. It was just something for me to have fun with, and I had played sports growing up. I played baseball, soccer, basketball, football, ran track, basically anything competitive that you could do growing up through school, I did. I absolutely loved it, and it's the biggest thing that I missed whenever I went to college was that I didn't take that with me. Never really got into intramural sports, never really had the time to between a double class load as a freshman, working on a major in history as well as a major in paramedicine, rushing my fraternity, everything like that. I never really had the time to pursue sports or anything. I really missed it. I wanted to so bad, and I just never did. So after about a year or so in college, a buddy of mine, Robert, he told me, he's like, hey, I play this sport called disc golf. It's like frisbee, but you throw it in these baskets with chains on them. And I'm like, cool, I play golf, so sure, why not? I'll go out with you one day. It was just an excuse for me to go out, walk through the park, things like that. So I ended up, going out first time. I think I was throwing an old beat up. I was throwing an old beat up Champion Valkyrie, an old beat up ESP crank, and a Pro D soft magnet. And I frankly had no idea what I was doing. I was getting out, throwing it like you would a frisbee, and then I would watch my buddy Rob get up, and he would just absolutely destroy things. He would, outdrive all of us by a couple hundred feet. Granted, I was getting 75, 80, maybe 100 feet on my drives at that point in time. So I was getting to the point then where, I wanted to be better. But unfortunately, winter set in. I quickly forgot. During the summer of 2014, when I really picked up, or when I started the game, Rob had given me a handful of discs and everything to go, to practice with, or to have, old things he didn't need anymore, things that he, didn't throw, and he just gave them to me because, I expressed interest in wanting to play more. So he gave them to me that way I could practice, that way I could play and get better. And believe it or not, I still have the first two discs that he ever gave me. It was actually one of them's in there right now, the old Valkyrie, and the old ProDeSoft Magnet, which I've now given to my little sister who has expressed interest in learning how to play. So I kind of passed that one on, but I'm keeping the Valkyrie for myself for a while. It still does some cool things, and I still like throwing it. So I put down the sport for a while. School got tough, work got tough. I was an EMT after my first year of college, and then I was going back to be a paramedic. So I definitely had my hands full with trying to balance school, balance work, balance social life, and everything else, and disc golf kind of fell out of the graces of that. So I was digging through my room one day, cleaning out some stuff, and I reach under my bed and I find this old backpack, and I pull it out, and in it was an old Valkyrie and an old Magnet. And I remembered all of a sudden, like, whoa, I completely forgot this game existed. So I picked him back up, took him out in the yard, I started throwing him. I'm like, I kind of miss this. So I went out to a local little 9-hole pitch and putt course by where I work. Played around with it for a few weeks and everything, and then I started Googling local disc golf courses. And I started finding a couple, and then I seen this tournament, and I'm like, I knew Rob played in some tournaments every now and then, but I wanted to kind of experience that. And at that point, I'm thinking, I think I'm good enough to compete with other people just going out and throwing frisbees. I had no idea what I was getting into. So I went out, first tournament, and absolutely bombed. I was last place. I should have played novice. I played in rec. I wasn't really, I had no idea what I was doing. But I bombed last place. Next place was about 15 strokes better than me. So I did a lot of ratings padding for the entire field that day. Not surprised, a few people actually thanked me for it under their breath afterward, but whatever. I made everyone else look good. But the most important thing was I loved it. I played terribly. I couldn't get anything going. I didn't know the rules. I broke rules. I step putted from 5-6 meters and things like that. But everyone else there was so friendly and so nice, and they just kind of guided me along. And they said, "Hey, do this, or try it this way, or you can't do this. And normally you can in a tournament. You're not allowed to do this." Or you have to, even things so simple as you have to mark your lie. They were all extremely considerate, knew that I had never played an actual tournament or anything formal for that matter, aside just from the handful of times that I went out and played with a few buddies, where it was just whatever, you just kind of played, picked up your disc, threw it, step putted, and when you went to drive or something like that, or throw an upshot, you step past your lie. Nobody really cared. We never really were serious. But they were all incredibly considerate. I know a guy by the name of Ryman Schneider. I will always remember that last name. He taught me a lot. He was extremely considerate. He knew that I had never done anything like this before, so he taught me along the way. He showed me how to do things right, what I was doing wrong. By that point, I'd picked up a handful of other discs at, like a local sporting goods store, something like that, or, I'd picked a few things up here and there, and, I was at that point putting with a putter that was completely wrong for me. I still had the old Magnet in my bag, but I picked up this Mirage because I'm like, man, this is a more durable plastic, and I had a Star Mirage I was putting with, and couldn't figure out why I couldn't sink any putts. And he pulled this old Magnet back out of my bag. He said, "Here, for round 2, just putt with this. Throw the Mirage, but it's not good for your putting. It's not good for the way you putt. It's not good for grabbing chains, things like that." So I kind of took that and was like, awesome. Dude, I'm competing against this guy, and he's trying to make me better at the same time. Granted, I pose zero threat to this man whatsoever. It was interesting, to say the least. But I took his advice. And played with him again on the next card, and they continued to kind of coach me through and everything like that. I started figuring out what my disc did whenever I actually threw them right, so I didn't have to just kind of throw it and hope it did what I wanted it to do. after that first tournament, I fell in love. I was signing up for tournaments all the time. I was in my spare time. I was on YouTube looking up tutorials, looking up how to throw, looking up tournament coverage, looking up. I mean, everything that had to do with disc golf, I was completely enveloped with, to the point that it eventually drove my girlfriend absolutely crazy. Then I discovered the wonderful world of buying disc on Facebook. I'm pretty sure my bank account still has not forgiven me for the past 3 years of constant abuse that I put it through. I'm getting better. I promise. I'm in recovery from buying disc addiction. So, I completely threw myself at this sport. I threw myself at disc golf head first with no regrets, no looking back, whatever, no second guesses. I threw myself into it because not only was it fun for me, but the community. The community is what really held me. The sport got me to play, but the community got me to stay. It's just like a big giant family. It doesn't matter, what city you're from, or if you're sponsored by different teams, things like that. It doesn't matter. Everyone loves everyone, and it's something I kind of felt that I was missing out of my life, because by the point that I had picked disc golf back up, I was leaving college. I was finishing up with my paramedic degree. I wasn't doing anything else with the fraternity really because I was focusing so much on that. And I missed that brotherhood aspect that I had from the fraternity chapter. And before that, I had from sports teams going through school. I missed that camaraderie, everything like that. And I just didn't have it anymore, and I felt empty. And then when I found the disc golf community in late 2017, it was just like a door swung open. And I was lucky enough that I had the sense to step through it. After a couple months playing competitively, I went from, losing, convincingly losing every single tournament that I played, to being able to, not necessarily placing in like the payout area, sometimes only missing payouts by 1 or 2 strokes, but I was now being competitive with my field. And I got better incredibly fast. And it's something my mom would probably agree with, the fact that whenever I put my head to something, I do it. I bull rush straight into everything. I get stubborn. I don't let up. And I wanted to be good at this. So I did. I put everything I had into it. I took a practice basket to work with me. So while I'm running on an ambulance and, we're at the station not doing anything, I would be out in the back parking lot with a basket set up putting or doing upshots and everything else. That's all I did. I'd have a basket set up in my house, and every time I was home, I would just sit and just throw 20, 25-foot putts just across the room. And it made me a lot better. But it's the constant practice and everything else, and I just set my mind to it, that I just absolutely would not give up until I was the very best that I could possibly be. Not necessarily that I was the best that ever was, because I'm, I like to be confident in myself, but I know the likelihood of that's incredibly small. I don't necessarily want to be the best to ever do it. I want to be the best that I can do it. So I did everything in my power to make that happen, and I'm doing it more and more every day. So late in 2017, after playing competitively for a couple months, I caught the eye of a man by the name of Andy Harshbarger out of Huntington, West Virginia. For perspective, I'm from Portsmouth, Ohio. Huntington's about an hour and a half drive southeast, down the Ohio River and over into West Virginia. Andy ran a small shop called Van Man Disc Golf. He got the name because he used to have just a van that he would load down with disc, and he would drive around, and he would have schedules to where he would drive to this disc golf course one day and set up for a few hours, and then another day he would drive to a different disc golf course and set up a table for a few hours here and there. He would take disc to tournaments like that and sell all these different things. And he finally, actually got a, storefront shop for his for disc golf. And because I went to Huntington a lot for my tournaments, unfortunately in Southern Ohio, the tournament scene sucks. There's only a handful of tournaments every year. But he did that. He did that a lot in Huntington. So I went to Huntington a lot, and I got to know him. I got to know, everyone there. And then he approached me one day and asked me to apply for the team. I applied for the team, and I heard back. Actually, I heard back immediately. I handed him the application. He just kind of wadded it up, and he's like, "I don't even actually need you to fill this out. I want you. I want you on my team." So at the end of 2017, I became a member of Van Man Disc Golf. Easily, probably, and still to this day, the best thing that's ever happened to me in the sport. Because not only was it like, it was a sponsorship. Cool, I got 10% off of his tournaments and 10% off of things in his store. Yeah, it's 10% off of a $15 disc. I'm getting $1 off. It's not. I never did it for the things like that. I did it because somebody believed in me. At that point, somebody thought that I was good enough to give me the chance to sponsor me. Since then, I've worked closely with Andy for the past 2 years now, and it's been a wonderful 2 years. It's been great. I absolutely love every minute of it. I like to think that I've represented Van Man proud, and how he is continually supporting me in my future endeavors. So that kind of brings you pretty well up to pace up until about last year. I hit the 2018 tournament season incredibly hard. I was at tournaments every weekend. I was spending time away from family, I'd take time off work to go to tournaments. I'd travel. I went to the Open at Tallahassee at the beginning, back in like March or so of 2018. I went to Tallahassee, Florida to play a tournament. I played the Music City Open in Nashville. I love to travel anyway, and traveling in disc golf was just hand-in-hand gold for me. So, I went down and did that. And then in the late summer of 2018, I was playing a local tournament back in Huntington, one of Van Man's little unsanctioned tournaments that was just throw together. I didn't plan on going. I knew I wouldn't do anything that day, so I woke up early that morning and I got ahold of Andy, asked him if there was any spots open. He said, "Yeah, sure." So I went down, and on the third hole of the tournament, I took a misstep off the tee and slid a little bit. My left foot came around the plant. I snapped my tibia and fibia and tore my syndesmotic ligament. So that it sidelined me for the rest of the year. I was on pace to make it to Amateur Worlds, to qualify for Amateur Worlds in my first year playing competitively, my first full year, and that put that to a screaming halt. I was devastated. I'd been hurt a lot growing up. I was always kind of a daredevil kid. Did stupid things, made stupid decisions. I'm paying for some of them now, but I've never had an injury devastate me as much as that, and it was mainly because it took my mobility away. It took everything away from me. So whenever that happened, I sat on my couch, didn't really have the will to do anything. Took a toll on myself, my family, my relationship, everything. All took a hit, and I really, really considered giving up disc golf for good, because I couldn't work for almost 6 months. It had destroyed me as a person, frayed my connections with my family, and had my relationship absolutely in shambles, just because what it did to me and how I chose to take it out on everyone else. So I really considered giving it up, and I almost did, until one day I just kind of decided that no, I wasn't going to let it happen, wasn't going to let that get to me. And I I reached out to Garrett Gerthy, who I'm lucky to consider a friend of mine. We had met earlier that year in Music City, and I reached out to Eagle McMahon, and I told them both kind of what happened and asked how I could change the way I play to keep anything like this from happening in the future, and to kind of limit the effect on my body down the road, because now I've got a major injury that I know is going to nag on me for the rest of my life. I worked very, very closely with Eagle over the time that I was healing, sending videos back and forth of how I used to throw, and then him teaching me and showing me little things of what I need to change. Once I got back to start walking, I was still in a boot. I was in the yard throwing. I was in the yard putting. I was in the yard doing up shots. My forehand game really, really, really took off because I knew I could sit in the yard without really having to move and work on forehand shots. So my forehand Firebird game became pretty serious. And then once I got to full mobility back, I was immediately trying to work on things that Eagle told me to change. So that pretty well rung me in the 2019. I was actually still in a wheelchair whenever I signed up for the 2019 Las Vegas Challenge. And one way or another, whether I was going to have someone push me around on the course in a wheelchair, I was going. So I got healed up just in time to get some good practice in before heading out there. Played great. 2019 was a big year for me, but not in disc golf. I took most of the year off, got a place with my girlfriend, started working a little more seriously, and just doing things in life that were big for me instead of just in disc golf. So I was really, really kind of disappointed in myself for not doing disc golf stuff in 2019 as much. But at the same time, I was doing other things with my life. And now looking ahead to 2020, I've got all eyes on disc golf. So I plan to make the best out of this year, and I plan to finish what I started in 2018 and be able to qualify for Amateur Worlds. So that being said, this has kind of just been a background of kind of me coming up and kind of some stuff to expect from my channel. I didn't really plan on this being 20 odd minutes long. I really didn't, so I apologize, and if you've stuck through it, thank you so much. But I'm really excited to get this up and going. I'm really excited to start sharing things disc golf related, as well as how I play, everything like that. And my advice might not be 1,000 rated pros advice, but my advice is coming from another amateur and what works for me. So what works for me might not work for everyone else, or it might. What's the worst you can do is try and it doesn't work, and you need to try something else. Because if you weren't trying things, you wouldn't be looking at my stuff trying to figure out how to be better. So you can always give it a shot and anything like that. I plan to do a lot of disc review disc review videos, some practice routine videos, some practice rounds, some tournament rounds in the bags. I might even give a little snippet in of what I do, in life. So some cooking stuff, some martial arts stuff that I'm finally getting back into. Some stuff about work, life in the day-to-day life of a paramedic is interesting, to say the least. Every day, it's never the same. But that chaos is always constant. It's always different. So I can't wait to bring everyone along for this journey. Love this, to see any subscribers to this. Hit the thumbs up, hit the like button on all my stuff. Come back for more stuff. And if you want to see anything specific, you want to see me review this certain disc, or you want to know how I do something like that, you want me to do anything, just leave a comment or a message or anything, and I'll do my best to make sure that I'm putting quality content out that everyone wants to watch. So with that being said, probably the next thing I'm going to do is put together an in the bag. All season's kind of weird within the bag stuff because it goes in and out. I throw a lot of CE stuff, so I don't carry that in the winter. But other than that, we'll get into this very soon, and like I said, I thank everyone for coming along this journey with me, and I can't wait to see where this takes us. So I'll see you guys next time.